Curling now enters the Sports Weekend spotlight.
Oh, it just makes you want to dance.
It is so good to hear that music. It is so good to be back. Hi again, curling fans. That's it. Call, I missed you. How are you? It's good to see you.
Honestly, this feels like deja vu all over again, doesn't it? Like, we last did this Mother's Day. And thanks everybody for tuning in, joining us. What a show we've got tonight, eh, Deb?
Huge show. And like you said, the last time we had the chance to talk to all of you, and this is a reason why we're back, that curling show, the second season. Of course, producer Soph turning the dials and making this all work behind the scenes. But it is so good to be back. Yes, Carl, you and I joked about the fact that we were going to try and keep this to 30 minutes every show. That's not happening tonight. So buckle up, settle in, and let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat tonight, because we always love to hear where the curling fans are tuning into. But before we start, and before we get into all of this, Colleen, I understand you started your 47th curling season.
I mean, how's that possible when you're 40 years old?
You were on the ice just before we did the show. Did you win? How did it go? How did it feel to be on the ice?
It always feels good to be on the ice. It just feels great. It was interesting because I'm going to call her Andrea Crawford. Is that her married name? From New Brunswick.
Right. Yeah.
She was playing. And I said, hey, why aren't you in Ottawa? She said, because she acquired no points last year. You know, she had the opportunity to go to the Scotties in the bubble, and because of kids and all kinds of other reasons, they decided not to. So anyhow, it's great to be back on the ice, just like I'm sure all the other curlers and fans that are watching across the country that are getting ready and hoping everything stays open. Let's just cross everything.
Yes.
That they get a full year in and a full season at clubs all across the country who were really badly hit, as everything was because of COVID, but certainly curling clubs suffered.
We're getting a lot of people commenting and letting us know where they're watching from. I went and purchased some new apparel for the season.
Nice.
This is always backwards, but take a look at that.
That's beautiful.
Look at
You are right away. You're talking to our knitting fans right away.
Right.
Because that is a beautiful hand knit sweater. And I think I gave you a hand knit. I didn't knit it myself.
You did.
Curling sweater. Anyhow, enough of that. We have so much. You look beautiful, Devin. And we all wanted to wear fall sweaters just because the season's turned and curling show's back. But there's so much to talk about because of the trials and the pre-trials and the road in and the backdoor entries. And of course, the proposed pilot rule changes for the World Curling Championship. So this is all top of mind. We've got a lot to cover.
Right. And we're going to get into the rule changes. We have people from the World Curling Federation joining us. We're going to speak to Lisa Weagle, who is a queen of the tick shot that has been affected by the rules. So we'll talk to Lisa in a second. But like you said, Colleen, the season underway, all of these bonspiels happening. We had bonspiels last week with Olympic qualifying ramifications. Of course, 2 bonspiels in Ottawa this week, the direct entry and then the longer road. And we'll get into that. But why don't we get right to Lisa, because Lisa, alongside partner John Epping. Lisa, great to see you. You booked your ticket to Portage La Prairie for New Year's. We're going to celebrate. Tell us what it was like, Lisa. There you guys are, of course, the Ellie Jenkins Memorial event in Martinsville. What was it like to be on the ice with that much at stake, that early in the season, all the things? Welcome to the show, Lisa, and good to see you again.
Nice to see you both, and it's nice that your show is back. I'm sure all your fans are very excited. And
you, Lisa.
The event was great. It's really great to play doubles with John, and it was our second event of the season. We played one in Oakville to start, so that was an important one for us in Saskatoon, the Ellie Jenkins, to lock up our trial spot. And I think for everyone, the priority is the 4-person, or in my team's case, 5-person game. But it's nice to have that kind of backup and that second chance to get to the Olympics.
Did that add to the pressure for you and John, knowing you want to lock it up? You don't want to keep going to all of the mixed doubles when you've got your 4 or 5 person teams respectively to focus on?
Yeah, John and I haven't played a ton of mixed doubles. I mean, we have a little bit over the years, but it's never been a focus. So for us, we knew that that was a really great opportunity for us to get a spot, and we're playing in Banff next week, which was another opportunity. And there were still a few others, but for us, it was really about trying to get points, trying to get more experience playing together. For me, getting more experience throwing last rock and just really learning the game and getting good team chemistry together.
How hard is that last rock throwing for you in mixed doubles?
Well, I'm sure you've experienced this, Colleen, but it's stressful. It's really hard. It's a great feeling when you make your shots, and it's devastating when you miss them. So yeah, I'm enjoying it though. I think overall it just makes me a better curler.
Okay, Lisa, the last quadrennial, all of the conversation was about the mixed doubles and how much it was going to mean to the curlers. And of course, John and Caitlin go and win a gold, and everybody's going, "Oh, we can win a gold medal at the Olympics in mixed doubles." But can you walk us through how you split those focuses? Because you led off by saying the priority, of course, is a 4 or 5 person team. So how do you navigate? Because that's a tricky conversation. And as I understand it, from what I know right now, Curling Canada has said, if you win the 4, you're not playing mixed. So how do you navigate those tricky conversations?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And this happened the last quadrennial. Was my team won the women's trials, so John had to find a new partner to play the mixed doubles trials. So I think there's support and there's understanding both ways. And to get a chance to be an Olympian, whether it's in doubles or whether it's in the traditional curling game, I think everyone's very supportive of that. And for me, my practice looks a little bit different now. As a lead, usually your practice is a lot of draws, some tick shots, and now I'm throwing in a greater variety of shots.
Well, you brought up the tick.
Right.
Good segue, Lisa. Let's talk about some of those changes that we're going to see piloted at the World Curling Championships and the Weagle tick. Did you make this too good? And did you lead the way on this? But now they're like, no, enough of those ticks. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, that's kind of a tough, I feel a little bit sad about it because I feel like that's the shot that really has defined my curling career as lead. And I really love to play it, but I understand the thinking behind it and people wanting a little bit less predictable last ends and more rocks in play during the game. So while I will miss it and I'm curious to see how it goes, if it's good for the game, then I think it's an interesting step forward. I don't know if it's the right one, but it's definitely a step in a different direction.
It is a step in the, in a game that's so steeped in tradition and has constantly evolved in the last 20 years. I have played under every rule change known to man, except I wasn't around for 12N curling. But otherwise, I've played it all, right? And all of them I've embraced, but these 3, I'm like going, I don't know about that. So tell me, while I bring my magic board out, do you think you as a lead will now start, because it has to be on, not on center line. Will you guys start playing exactly there so that exactly there? Where are you going to put it?
Well, as long as it's touching the center line, they can't tick. Is that the rule? As I understand?
Yes. Yeah. That's a rule. So if it's touching the center line in any way, so I'm thinking you can get it pretty close, Lisa, can't you?
Yeah, and I mean we tried that at the Grand Slams, and I think we did it for a few events, and it worked okay. I think then it brings a bit more skill into leads rocks when you're throwing those guards. You can't just lob it in there. You're sweeping and your throwing have to be on point, so you're really getting it on that center line. But yeah, sometimes we would try and maybe move a guard off center line to make it more difficult to tick, so you wouldn't be able to really do that anymore.
Yeah, it's really scary to think that even if you're coming around the guard and tick it, who doesn't occasionally tick a guard? By the way, here's something like what they bring out when they have to measure to see is they'll bring out a carpenter thing. To say,
oh, really?
I'm glad to have a tool and we're not just eyeballing it. I think that was a bit of
I think the umpire will have one for you. Yeah. But yeah, what is the word people are saying when you were sort of curling in mixed doubles when the announcement came out about the changes? We did a poll on it, and we'll show it to you after, but pretty unanimous that people in Canada don't like it. But do you think all of these changes are needed? Is there something wrong with the game as it is now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I love the tradition of the game and want to protect the integrity of the game, but also want to try and move it forward. And I think that when you look at the top level, that a lot of teams are making the shot a lot of the time. It's maybe not as high percentages as sometimes we think it is, but it is being made a lot. And I think people want to be able to mix it up a little more and not have those shots made all the time. But even if you do make 2 ticks in the last end, there's still 6 shots after that. So I think that sometimes results are unpredictable, but I understand what people are saying. And I think among the top curlers, I know you have Brad coming on after, I imagine most of the top curlers would be in support of this.
Well, it's funny because often especially in the men's game, when a nice end is developing and they'll throw a quadruple or a triple or a nice run back, no one's punishing that shot. That they're just specifically saying, it's clearly the tick that's made the game predictable. I've never found the game predictable.
No, and I think that some of that stuff is what we really love about curling. And I think mixed doubles is a really interesting place to try some different rules and really be innovative with the game. And I just don't know how far is too far. It's nice to try things, and I'm glad we're going to get to see it. And hopefully it'll be something that we can all have a good discussion about and make a decision that's best for the game. And that includes the curlers, the broadcasters, and the fans.
We're going to continue this conversation. A couple of things before we let you go, Lisa. I see the Olympic wreath behind you, which is beautiful, by the way. I love that.
Do you wear that around your head sometimes? Just walk around the neighborhood with the dog? Or?
You should try. I don't think it would fit.
Take us through the path now, because of course the trials in my hometown of Saskatoon, you got a peak for that. Who knows what'll happen there? You could potentially be in Portage la Prairie as well. Walk us through the schedule. You got to peak a lot of different times. You've done this before. You've done the Olympics before. So what are you bringing into this go around?
Yeah, so now that the trial spots are locked, it's really making a plan to peak at those times. So on the women's side, we have 2 more Grand Slam events. So those will really be trying to test everything out that we're planning on implementing at the trials and really using those as kind of those test events. And then if that doesn't go our way, then there's the Olympic trials with John in mixed doubles. So we'll do a little bit of training together beforehand. He and I have 2 more mixed doubles events this season. So we'll be very busy and, hopefully we'll be able to peak at the right time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, listen, so nice of you to join us. The lead is leading this curling show, 2nd season.
Thanks for having me on. I have a little visitor here.
Good.
I know we couldn't get him on the last time, but
yeah. Did you put a muzzle on the Welsh Corgi? Oh, Robin, get in there. Hey, that's so cute. Well behaved. So, there. Are you going to give me a kiss?
There'll be some treats. There he is.
That's the cutest.
It is Trooper's world, and we are living in it.
It really is.
That and cats. If you've got a cat, same deal. Lisa, congrats on mixed doubles for you and John.
Thank you. Nice to see you too.
Good to see you both. Good to see you both. Thanks, Lisa. Outstanding call. It is ramping up. I certainly sense that there's a level of intensity. And of course, we were talking about the rule changes just now with Lisa. We're going to put up, first of all, let's talk about the rules, the specific rules. I think we can bring up a board right now. So the proposed changes that are going to be in effect for the World Championships this next year. So the thinking time is reduced to 4 minutes each end for the first 5 ends, 4 minutes, 15 seconds for the remaining ends. That, of course, is replacing that lump sum of 38 minutes per game. No tick shots. We talked about that extensively. And the wild one, it's like the shootout in hockey. You're going to end a game with a draw to the button. No extra ends, Colleen, if you can imagine.
Yeah, not a fan.
Not a fan. And we put it to you, the fans, in a poll, and the results were resounding. So we'll look at that, and the numbers speak for themselves, don't they?
Yeah, I think it does. And I'm glad to see that some are taking the wait and see approach. I kind of find, and they have done, as Lisa mentioned, experimenting with this during the Grand Slams and things. But I just didn't think anything was overly broken with the game. But we're going to find out the whys of it, aren't we?
Yep. Yeah, right now we're going to bring in a World Curling Federation representative, because I know listen, this is not something they dreamed up overnight.
No, they've been studying.
This has been a conversation that's been ongoing, and I think that point needs to be made. And like Lisa said, it's all about growing the game. And we know that some people have talked about the length of the game, the television, 3 hours. Are people willing to invest?
Right.
The conversation around 10 ends to 8 ends. I don't think people want to do that. So this is the way you do it.
True. And you know what? Speaking of length, like, I won't miss a golf tournament and I'm sitting there for 6 hours. I don't know when Wimbledon's going to end. Sometimes I'm there for 5 hours, just, and so for me, it's when I'm a fan at a curling event, the Brier or the Scotties, the TV timeouts when you're watching one team just stand there for 2.5 minutes while the commercials run, that slows it down, all that chitty chatty. Anyhow, we do have from the World Curling Federation, Graham Prost is joining us today. He'll make sense of all of this. Hi, Graham. How are you?
Hi, Colleen and Devin. Great to be with you. I'm fine.
You're our explainer, and help us understand the why, because I didn't see anything broken.
Sure. I'm really pleased to be here, and thanks for the opportunity to provide a little feedback and some rationale and maybe a bit of clarification too. So just to clarify the motion that was passed a few weeks ago at the World Curling Assembly, it actually is, these are not in place currently for the men's and women's world championships. They're proposed. What was passed, typically under the WCF Constitution, it's the member associations at the assembly that pass the rules. And what they passed in this case was the delegation of the authority to pass the rules to the board. After consultation. So that's a really important part of this, because we're really just entering the consultation phase. So while those rules are out there and there's been plenty of comment on it, and I'm glad to see everybody so passionate, regardless of what side of it you're on, it's yet to be decided. So the next 6 to 8 weeks are going to be part of that consultation going to be the consultation process, or the period. And following that, that's when a decision will be taken. And we're including it's not just a board decision. We're going to engage with the WCF Athlete Commission, the WCF Competition Rules Commission, the WCF member associations, our broadcast media competition staff, and also the general public. So there's going to be a forum for the general public to weigh in, and I'm looking forward to hearing that.
What's the end game for this? What are you hoping happens? Not the end result, but why even be discussing something? How broken are things that you need to kind of glue things back together in a different way?
Right. Well, this actually kind of stems out of the whole, you referred to it earlier, Colleen, this stems out of the whole 8 versus 10N conversation. And what happened, that's been going on for a long time, as we know, and it kind of came to a head, or started to come to a head in 2019 at the annual assembly. And rather than put that on the table and vote on it right at that point, the board felt, and the member associations agreed, that there really wasn't enough information to make such an important decision at that time. So what we did was we formed a committee called the Maximizing the Value Group. It's a working group, and we populated it with representatives of the Athlete Commission, representatives of member associations, our people that work for the WCF in broadcast media, and in our competitions people, our Secretary General, and we included people from around the world, from all 3 World Curling Federation zones, the Americas, Europe, and Pacific Asia. We included large countries, small countries. Some of those people were athletes, in addition to the representatives from the Athlete Commission, and we really specifically looked for people with differing opinions about not only about 8 and 10, but about potentially other things, and especially based on or depending on where they might come from in the world. So we put that together almost 2 years ago now. And from there, we actually challenged the group to, think outside the box. Look at growing the game. Not that we're saying there's anything wrong with it, but the fact that we're debating 8 versus 10 would mean that there's a group of people that think that one or the other is better. So we need to make sure that we think about all of the impacts of that big change, because it is big. If we go from 10 to 8, we're not going back. The broadcasters have around the world have given us a chunk of time that a 10-end game can fill. If we go to 8, we're not likely to get that half hour back. So, this is an important decision. It has lots of factors. There's sponsorship implications. There's athlete and competition implications. So anyway, it's a big subject. So in addition to thinking about the impacts, we also wanted to look outside the box and look ahead. We always talk about getting younger. Most of the people in the stands at curling events have the same color hair I do, and we're looking to change that, and we want to grow the game around the world. We want to get younger people involved, and so that's all been part of it, and so the 3 rules kind of speak to that, and I can speak to them in some depth if you wish, in whatever order you like.
Well, by the way, I sometimes I think the reason why you see sort of an older crowd at curling is they have the time to go to a week-long event, and they have the disposable income maybe to pay for the airfare to get to Las Vegas or Glasgow or wherever these things are at, whereas kids really don't have that yet. But I think one of the things that people are, there's a couple of people are split on the to tick or not, but the extra end. And during the round robin,
if there's one,
it's like not having an extra inning in baseball. So
and Graham, I mean, I know you're here in the Americas, and as curling and hockey country, we hate the shootout. Now we're going to the curling equivalent of the shootout. So walk us through that. That's the one I want you to explain.
Okay, so basically, when we started to look at this, we said, what can we do to protect the integrity of the game and the integrity of the competition, but at the same time make it as interesting and as interesting to broadcasters and audiences around the world. So one of the constraints, Colleen, both of you would know this. I mean, we live in, when you're living within the media and broadcast world, you have a certain time frame that you get, and you're trying to fill it to the best of your ability. And we've also, in curling's kind of very unique in a lot of ways, but one of the ways that it's unique is that it can end early or it can go long. And so that is a real challenge for us as we try and fit a broadcast into whatever allotted time we have. In Canada, we're lucky that we have our 2 major sports networks and previously your network that understood how it all works. And we understand that a game can end early. It's part of the game. Anybody that's a curling fan understands it. We also understand, it's tied after 10 or 8. We play, we have to play an extra end. So, but that's not the case around the world. And so while the dedicated sports channels like TSN and Sportsnet in Canada, while they're able to move around and juggle their schedules, if a game goes long on one of their channels, and they can just move a game to another another one of their channels, and it works. Right. We don't have that same luxury around the world. And in fact, in a lot of the places where we send our signal, we're dealing with not sports networks, but we're dealing with the national broadcaster, or we're dealing with a public broadcaster. And in the case of a national broadcaster, it's the competition, I guess, with what's coming next. So if your game runs long and it happens to be the 10 o'clock news, we get preempted. It's happened, and it's not ideal. We hear about it every time it happens. We get fans from those countries. Right. So basically, the idea is to try and package it in such a way that it fits, typically or regularly within that framework. Just one last thing, Colleen. Sorry. The other thing is that's why it's proposed only for the round robin, because even though this is quite a leap, we think it's too big a leap to think about it for the playoffs, where we're less likely to get bumped regardless of broadcast rates.
I'm glad, Graham, you pick up my cue like this, because that's always supposed to be a cue for Devin to let me in. But you got that right away. You must have worked in broadcasting. You know, in 2010, I worked for NBC for the Olympics, and they were overjoyed with curling. They were like, holy moly, like, look at this. They had people addicted from 2006 games in Torino. They got more addicted in 2010, and it continues to grow in the States. Yet they never minded when it was a massive addicted curling craze that didn't even know anything about curling, watching the game. So I'm thinking, if you could get the Americans to watch 10Ns, you know, what about the other countries? Why not just patiently say, hope you join us eventually?
Yeah, well, we do that. We have the people that work for World Curling Television, and especially in our programming and satellite distribution areas. You know, they're working the broadcasters around the world all the time to we typically go from broadcast to up to 120 countries around the world already. So I mean, we've got a lot of reach, but you know, we're trying to, you know, again, maximizing the value. We're trying to reduce the resistance from new countries to take curling, or existing partners to take more curling. So you know, that's kind of the genesis of this.
I fear those new countries will never be total curling geeks like the other curling geeks.
We gotta move on. We gotta move on. But Graham, thank you. The beauty.
But it might not even happen. Is that what I?
Yeah. Listen. So if I can leave you with one thing, it's this. We're in the consultation phase here, and you know, a big part of this is there is still opportunity for members and athletes and the general public to weigh in, and we're looking forward to receiving that.
Good. We'll leave it there, because no question we're going to be talking more about this. Graham, outstanding to have you on and give us that clarity. Thank you for that.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Awesome. Good. Let's get moving, Call. We got to get moving. So we're going to bring in Mr. Brad Gushue right now, and I know he was listening to everything that Graham was saying. Brad, I don't want to put too fine point on it, but when I hear maximizing the value and that explanation, I heard TV. I didn't hear a lot about curlers. Over to you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think all these decisions are based solely on TV, which I don't think is the proper way to go. I think, as Colleen alluded to earlier, a lot of sports go into extra innings or extra time or whatever, and you know, if the product is good enough, the TV is going to make room for it, in my belief. So I don't think we should be catering to just TV, to be quite honest. And I think some of these measures are pretty drastic, and I know for a lot of the top curlers in the Grand Slam and across this country, certainly we're kind of blindsided by, you know, these announcements that came out a couple of weeks ago.
By the way, we didn't even say hi. How are you? Do you have ice in St. John's yet?
Yeah, we do. We had a training camp last week. We have another one starting on Sunday. So we're getting into it. We're not playing our first event until Thanksgiving weekend. So we're gonna get our legs underneath us before we start playing events.
Well, tell me about what you know about peaking, because you've done it over and over and over and over again in your career. So Thanksgiving, when other people were on the ice and since August, and all of these spiels in September.
Yeah, you know what? We've played together for so long that we're not worried about figuring out how to play. I think for us, it's just a matter of getting our legs underneath us, getting a feel, try and tighten some things up as a team. Last year, we didn't get to play together very much, so we wanted to work on some technical things and get those ironed out before we start playing some events. So we're going to play the Stu Sells Thanksgiving weekend and then 2 Grand Slams, and then go right into the trials. And we're 100% confident we're going to be ready for the trials. Hopefully everything works out and we can win, but you know, I think we're going to be ready for sure.
And here I thought the late start was the over 40 club and getting that WD-40 out for you and Mark.
Well,
he's ready.
That is part of it for sure. You know, we for so long in my career, we would go right to Switzerland, play our first event without even practicing, and I can't do that anymore. You know, I need to build my way up, throw 8 rocks the first day, then maybe get to 12 or 15 and work my way up to, you know, a decent amount so I could actually practice. So we're there. You know, I'm throwing a decent amount now Now it's just a matter of getting the kinks out and getting that feel back.
Funny that a person that owns a fitness studio would be saying, "You're
Well,
always ready. You were born ready."
I'm fit, but I'm old, Colleen. It's there's still some joint stuff that you got to work out there. So
yeah, you've come to my age, Mr. Man. Okay, let's go back to the world changes. Do you think all of this is just almost a red herring, and they're going to turn it around and say, "Okay, 8 ends," and is that a better option, or is 8 too fast a game? Man,
you know what? I'm not sure if it is a red herring or not. I think if they did go to 8 ends, it's not the worst thing in the world. But I also think that we could speed up the 10-end game. I think there's some areas that we could work on. I don't like the 4 minutes per end. We tried that at the Canada Cup before, and it was just a disaster. I think everybody that played in it felt rushed. And when you get an end with 12 or 14 rocks in play, you can't play that in 4 minutes. You need probably 5 or 6 minutes. So that's why a lot of teams, you bank a minute here and a half a minute there. And then when you have those ends, you could actually take some time. And from a viewer's perspective, having those conversations between the skip and the third and some of that strategy part, that's probably one of the more interesting things in our game.
When I can tell you right now, when Joan Mead, our great CBC producer that did a lot to revolutionize how the television goes, she would, if Don Whitman, Don Duguid, or I would even dare speak when a curler was speaking, she would be, "Shush, this is the best part. This is where we find out their personalities."
Right.
It's like listening to them in the bedroom, like we're right in there with them in their heads. So a 4-minute end or a 15-second end is going to take away all that dialogue and personality. You're going to be like robots out there. It's going to be horrible. I like
it. Will. And we're one of the only sports where you can get that in behind the scenes kind of perspective of strategy and what's going on. And I think we don't want to lose that. And with the 4 minutes, you look at a team that's probably a little slower, like even ourselves, but certainly Kevin Cooey, all you're going to see is him running down to the last to throw his last rock in every single end. And that's
never make it. He's not going to make it. I mean, he's been down to 4 seconds too many times.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
You know what? I think our team would struggle with it on a regular basis. So teams that are a little bit slower than us, I think it's going to be too much. And I don't love that. The tick rule, I like that. We've tried that at the slams, and I think there's some positive aspects to that. And the extra end thing is that's just foolishness, in my opinion. If you want to go a shootout, you got to go all 4 players. You just can't have one shot. If you get a pick or, oftentimes the skip can go 4 or 5 ends without having thrown a draw. In all likelihood, that skip is going to be the one throwing that shot, and it's just too much at stake. And the thought of even implementing this at the World Championship is just mind blown. I think try it out in a couple of events first before you bring it to a World Championship.
Well, and a lot of these are sort of accepted. The 8 ends at curling club games, for example, you rarely ever get full 8 ends in because play is so slow. So some of this idea of speeding it up, but not to the 4 and 4:15-second ends. Anyhow.
Yeah. And going back to the 8 versus 10 ends, we played 8 ends at the Grand Slam for a long time now, and I think the product is good. Now, having said that, I'm an advocate for 10 ends. I think that the better team is going to win more often. But if the sole purpose is to make this a better TV property and to get us to grow the game internationally in different markets and shortening the game is going to require that, then I think going to 8 ends is a much better move than doing some of these other things like going to 4 minutes or taking the extra end away.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
I would think you would love an 8-end game. You just talked about needing WD-40 to win.
Well,
I think that's another sponsorship possibility for your team.
If they're out there to call us. But maybe, getting older, the weeks get longer and I'm probably getting up a couple more years now. My attention span is going to get shorter and shorter too. Right. So,
right.
But I'm okay with either one. I think, like I said, the Grand Slam has shown that the product's pretty good at 8. But personally,
for the real events, Brad, for the big, the Worlds, the Briar, the Scotties, please let them.
I don't disagree with you, Colleen. I really don't. But I think if we're going to turn left and go towards these rules, I'd rather go right and go towards 8 ends.
Right.
I could listen to you two all night.
Yeah.
Brad, I don't know if we'll see you at the Slam
Thanksgiving.
or along the way, but we will be seeing you in my hometown of Saskatoon, and I can't wait. And we're going to be doing the show all the way, so we'll have you back on for sure. And it's so great to see you. And hello to all of you out there on the Rock, and hello to your family as well.
They had that hurricane. You're okay?
Yeah, everything, a little bit of damage, a lot of trees down. That was the main thing. Nobody got hurt and no major damage, so we're all good.
All good. Great to see you, Brad. Thanks for doing this.
And Devin, I've already told you this, but great job in Tokyo. I thought you did a wonderful job. And from a fan, an Olympic fan, I certainly appreciated some of the insight that you gave.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I guess we do it again in 4 months. I still feel like I'm on Tokyo time, but thank you for that, Brad.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you. All right, we're going to keep it moving, Colleen. And this is the part of the show where I think we're supposed to warn people about grabbing their tissue, a spellbinding montage put together by producer Soph, and then we'll get into the story. Take a look at this.
This is Adam Freilich. He's 28 and a third for Team Como out of New Brunswick. For almost 2 years, Adam has been battling stage 5 liver failure. In May, his team put out the call that Adam was in need of a living donor and was urgently looking for a match. Who answered the call? Competitor Charles Gagnon, who plays lead for Team Fred Lawton out of Montreal. On September 21st, just 3 days ago, the pair underwent the kidney transplant. And spoiler alert, you're gonna need tissues for this one. The transplant went perfectly. And while these two may be opponents on the ice, they now share an incredible bond.
So look at you guys. Adam, how are you feeling? Charles, nice that you could join us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I'm feeling great. It's been a few days, and doctors are all very happy with how things are going, and I can't be happier myself. It seems like a miracle from this guy.
I'm sure.
Oh, Charles, I mean, how are you? What a gift. What a gift. And great to see you, and thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm great. I've actually been home for a day and a half now. I got to come home on Wednesday evening, so things on my end are going very, very well. Very happy.
Charles, how did you answer this call?
So I've known Adam for several years now through curling as a fellow competitor and someone from the region here. And so I knew who he was. I knew some of the background of the story, and then when I saw the call on social media, I said, I'm the right blood type, so why not get tested? And just went from there.
Adam, what was your reaction when you knew Charles was going to donate a kidney and was a suitable match?
I didn't quite believe him. I thought it was some sick prank at first, because it was just been almost 2 years of friends and family going to get tested and coming so close and nothing working out. And like he said, we've known each other for a few years through curling, but not more than just competitors on the ice. So when I got the message from him asking for the coordinates for who we could contact to get tested, and a month later saying, hey, we're a match, I was just in shock. And until last week, until I saw him in person at the hospital, I still wasn't sure if it was real. I'm still pinching myself, and here we are today.
Here we are today. What a moment. And we saw the eye of the tiger, Adam, and you looking like you were preparing for the biggest curling game of your life rather than a surgery. But walk us through that moment at the hospital when you guys did see each other, and that moment finally sort of crystallized and becomes real.
Yeah, so it was last week, and we both had to come in to some testing and meet surgeons and get the final okays. And it was just, I know we're in COVID and all, but I think I ran and gave him a big hug because it was just unbelievable that it's actually happening. And on Tuesday afternoon when they gave the call and said it's your turn to go down. Charles is out and kidney's waiting for you. I was just tears in my eyes. I was happy and didn't quite believe it. The surgeon told me that when I actually woke up from surgery, the first thing I said is this real? And they all kind of looked at me and said, yeah, you have a kidney. So first thing I said afterwards, yeah, let's party, celebrate. I finally have one. So it's
Adam,
amazing.
you're a young man. How has all of this impacted you? How sick were you? Are obviously sick to need a transplant, and I can imagine weakening a lot. Can you walk us through some of that? I know there's other people that are waiting for a donor as well. But tell us what the last couple of years have been like for you.
Yeah, so for kidney disease, it's about 1 in 10 people who actually suffer from it in Canada. So it does affect a lot of the population, and it's actually a silent disease. People only start getting symptoms when they're below 50% function. And so for me, it was really March of 2020 when I really got my first major symptom, and it was just itchy skin. And I thought I was allergic to something. I went in for bloods, and turns out I was at stage 5 with 15% function left.
Wow.
And since then, I changed my diet, started exercising the best I can to continue staying fit while COVID was happening. And I managed to only have minor symptoms from then till now, but I had puffiness around the eyes, itchy skin, major fatigue, muscle cramps. And yeah,
so Charles came to the rescue. Charles came to the rescue. Charles, somebody I think from Team Como tweeted out, "Not all heroes wear capes." And what is this? Like, I can't get over the selflessness of what you have done. Were you ever, especially when you're going under the knife, were you a little nervous for yourself at all, or were you just so selflessly ready to do this for Adam?
I don't know about the so selflessly, but I also don't think I was all that nervous. I mean, I'm a little older than Adam, or a lot older than Adam. I've got kids of my own and grandkids now, and if I can put something positive out there, you want to call it karma, that might someday come back to the family, then great. It's something I could do. Adam has said thank you a million times, and I don't know how to reply to that, because all I can say is just it's the right thing to do. It just felt like the right thing to do. I have a wonderful supportive family. My wife is behind me the whole time. The kids are all said obviously it's the right thing to do when we brought it up with them. So it was was a natural thing to do. Something Adam won't tell you is that he should have been in dialysis long ago. He's been pushing this back and fighting this hard for a long time. So it was nice to be able to do something for someone who's got such a good future. In my past, way back when I was going to school, I worked in a warehouse delivering, of all things to people who are on dialysis. So I saw firsthand what people go through who are on this dialysis. So to be able to put that off and make that not happen for them was pretty important for me.
You know, we talk, you guys, Charles and Adam, Colleen and I talk so much on this show about the power of the curling community, and what a poignant, emotional, powerful example of you guys being able to come together and the curling community come together. And you're seeing these comments at the bottom of the screen of Charles being an angel, and Adam, all the well wishes to you. And we're so grateful for you guys to be here in a hospital bed and just days after this surgery. I mean, it is powerful stuff, and we are really grateful for you guys sharing this. How long's the recovery? When are you back out there?
Well, we know that this weekend there's a double spiel in Oakville, so we kind of joked about, hey, he's already out of the hospital, come pick me up tomorrow and we'll drive to Oakville. But I think for me it's a good 5-6 weeks before I hit the ice, and Charles looks like he's good to go right now.
No kidding.
I've been preparing for this, so I stayed in shape all summer, and I knew it'd take about 4 weeks to get back on. My team is actually on the ice right now in Ottawa. And they're back again next weekend, but I should be able to join them in 3 weeks. when we play in Bidderfay. So she'd like to be in the ice about 3 weeks.
Incredible.
Well, the two of you embody what the curling community we've always known is, and that is just so caring about each other. And in this time of so much divisiveness through COVID and everything, that you two have shone this incredible light on doing good. It just warms my heart.
Yep. Awesome, guys.
And if you ever meet on the ice, Adam, you give him a couple of shots. Just don't,
Yeah. And the bar tab's on me too.
Yeah, exactly.
To be
Thanks
honest,
for joining
Adam's a
us.
much better killer than I am. I figure this is the best way for me to get a part of me to the Briar eventually. Anyway.
That's outstanding. You guys are truly amazing, and we will be sure to catch up with you, no doubt. And thank you, and well wishes on a good recovery. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Awesome. I loved when I saw that tweet. Not all heroes wear capes. And of course, that was our fan section of the day. And we really want to honor fans this year, make this show as interactive as we can. So if you know somebody that should be on that curling show, tweet us, get a hold of us. We're available. We're around, especially wonderful curling stories like that. Here's how you can reach us at Devon_Haru at CBC Colleen Jones and she should have producers, Sophie J. Barron.
You might have to change that. Listen, we heard Charles talk about his team being on the ice in Ottawa, and of course things are really heating up there, and it's complicated, and we're going to sort through it, and we're going to, get into it. But we had a chance to speak with Laura Walker, who's off to a 2-0 start. So far, so good. And we caught up with her a little earlier, recorded this because she's on the ice in about 14 minutes. But here's our conversation with Laura. There she is. Laura, what's it like to be in these pressure-packed games in September? Because you got to flick the switch, and you're 2-0, and so far, so good. And good to see you.
You too. Thank you. I think after the last year and a half, almost 2 years that we've had, we're just thankful to be in pressure-packed games again, whether it be in September or December or whatever month we are in. And we really planned our season around trying to peak for this event. So I think we're feeling really good here.
We've tried to explain the Ottawa spiel, but go ahead, you do it. This is
I don't want to.
Could be direct entry right to the Olympic trials, or
so that's what we're playing in. And there's the 5 teams. We play a round robin with the other 4 teams. If you finish 4-0 or 3-1, you automatically earn your spot. And then 2-2, I think you have to be beat twice to then not get your spot, or depending on kind of how the rest of the records work, there could be a playoff on Sunday in order to determine.
Okay, so it is that complicated.
Yeah, I still don't know. The girls just told me downstairs 5 minutes ago something I didn't know about the rules, so here we are.
But it's a short round robin. Like, you have to come out like you did, firing.
Yeah, it's the men are a slightly different format actually, which makes it even more confusing. But we just kind of see it this way, that if we can beat all the teams that we need to beat, then we get to go to the trials. And the trials are such a high pressure and a high caliber event that we should have to, perform under pressure in these moments, win the games that we need to win in order to get there and then compete there.
Laura, can you walk us through, you talk about peaking in September, and then you'll have to do it again in November, and then you hope to do it again in February. So can you walk us through how you guys mapped out how you were going to use the time over the summer and the short off season to this event to late November? Can you walk us through some of those conversations?
Yeah, we played in August this year, even though there was no World Curling Tour CTRS points on the line. We played in an event in August just to play and get our feet wet and kind of get used to everything again. And then coming into this event, this is actually our 3rd event in a row, which we don't normally like to do, but we felt in this scenario, the games together as a foursome, especially because with our lead, Nadine, she just had a little baby boy, Colby, in August, so she's not here. So congrats, Nadine, we miss you. But getting more games in with however that looked was important to us. So we just tried to pack those games in and then get the rest when we could. And we also told ourselves, be prepared for a very flexible October and November, because we could be in the pre-trials. We weren't exactly sure if we were in which slams we were going to be in. And there was all of those questions. So we're just being very open-minded and flexible and prepared for change, which makes it a lot easier for us to have.
You brought up the baby. You brought up the baby. What about your baby back home and just celebrated a birthday?
Yeah, he's not even like a little baby anymore. He just turned 1 on Monday. He's all over the place, really close to walking, but still can't do it that well. So he just like hits his head a lot, falls everywhere. And he's like at a really, really fun age. He has a little personality. We were FaceTiming this morning and I took a sip of my coffee and I wasn't even really talking to him. I was talking to Jeff. And as soon as I took my sip, he went, ah, just because he always does that after he takes a drink. It was so cute. So yeah, stuff like that is just a really fun age for us. And I miss him here, but thankfully we have some FaceTime and I get some peace and quiet.
And you get to focus just on curling, which is compared to the Scotties. Well, listen, we know you've got a busy night. So we thank you for taking time with us and helping us with that road to getting to the Olympic trials.
I still don't know, but hopefully I helped a little bit.
Just win. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Laura. Awesome to see you.
You too. Thanks.
All right, and welcome back. And we're doing this live, and I don't know where Colleen is. So we're, like I said, we're doing this live thanks to Laura Walker. She's going to be on the ice in about 10 minutes from now. You know, you saw that graph there, curling fans. It's a little complicated, but let me explain this. You have kind of an A event and a B event going on. Think of it that way. 2 bonspiels happening at the same time in Ottawa right now. There's a graphic. So the direct entry tickets to Saskatoon, you're going to have 3 women's teams directly qualifying to Saskatoon. The 2 losers of those 5 teams will go to the pre-trials event in Liverpool, Nova Scotia. And you're going to have the top 2 teams from the pre-trials direct entry going to Liverpool. They'll battle it out. Top 2 get those final spots to Saskatoon. On the men's side in that top tier event, you're going to have 2 men's teams go directly to Saskatoon. The other 3 will go to the pre-trials event in Liverpool. And in the pre-trials direct entry event, the top 2 will go to Liverpool. At the end of all of it, there's going to be 9 men's teams, 9 women's teams in my hometown of Saskatoon. Everybody got it? Everybody good? Okay, I hope so. Listen, over the years, I've gotten to know Jerry Gertz from Curling Zone very, very well. He's kind of like the money ball man in curling because he gets into the analytics. He's done great stuff for the game. And now he's taking it to the next level, providing all of these streaming services to get curling games onto your screens and into your homes. And Jerry joins us now. Jerry, you made it. I think you made your way into Toronto tonight. It's good to see you. And it's good to be talking about curling again.
Yeah, it's fun to be back again. And it's been a busy summer. Full speed, nothing stopped, going all the way back to last January. And now we're getting to start to see some of the fruits of the work that we've put together with Curling Stadium.
Like I said, you and I have had many conversations over the years, and I know you've always wanted to provide sort of a streaming service because curling fans can't get enough, and we do have a lot of it on TV here, but you're taking it to the next level. In fact, a big deal today from my home province. Tell us about all of that and how fans are going to be able to watch the game more than ever.
So we've got SaskTel coming on board as a partner with Curling Stadium Martinsville. We've also got, it's not announced yet, so this is a little sneak peek, but Swift is also coming on board. And the Investors Group Wealth Management, we got a big men's spiel coming up on Thanksgiving weekend there that we're excited to do. But SaskTel signed a 3-year deal with Curling Stadium to be the title sponsor of those 2 facilities. And we managed to put on the Ali Jenkins Mixed Doubles Memorial last weekend with John Epping and Lisa Weagle winning their trials berth there. And we had every draw. We were showing games. We're still working on some of the bugs and everything. This weekend, we've got a SAS Tour event going on. And sort of where I want to go with this and what the vision I see is we've got Team Ryland Kleider this weekend where we're producing a full stream for them, just like Team Cooey does at all the events they play, with pan-tilt zoom cameras following the play. And we're going to be doing that for Team Kleider this weekend and rolling their commercials and so on. These are the types of things we want to be able to do. We want to become service providers to the teams to make it easy for these teams to go out and stream and pull content and do all that work, because we see all the teams hauling this gear around and setting it up at clubs. And there's so many challenges with doing that themselves that we want to just make it easier for teams to do it.
welcome back to the party call. I missed you.
Speaking of bugs, I'm back. Hi, Jared.
Hello, Colleen. Good to see you again. Oh,
we might have lost her again. Jer, you care so passionately about all of this. You know, you took me under your wing in the early days and really explained the game, and you've done such great work over the years with the analytics. What's driving you to continue to do this now with the streaming? And I know you're doing a lot of work with the analytics as well still.
It's just a passion for me. It goes back to my younger days. I'm a huge baseball fan, and for me, stats and numbers, I'm always digging deeper into that stuff to try and get a better understanding. And I saw an opportunity to do something like that with curling. Curling is very much that same sort of sport. It's turn-based. There's so many decisions to be made during a game, and we can pull some pretty basic information to dig deeper into decision-making.
Right.
Well, you start looking at how a team plays down one with the hammer in different scenarios through a game, and you can actually get an understanding of how they play an end without even watching any games.
Wow. It's incredible. And we know that that teams have used it and have been very successful using it because of it. So the numbers don't lie, do they, Jared?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just giving you an understanding of where you are. Like I hear this a lot of times from people who don't like the numbers, who push back at, I don't want to know that I'm down 20, that I have a 25% chance of winning this game. That's a sort of in my mind, a bit of a simplistic way to look at it. Whereas instead, what I want to know then is, should I be throwing that Hail Mary, that I might make 10% of the time to get back in this game?
Yeah.
And so when you understand where you are, now you understand the decision-making you need to make going forward. And it allows teams to also do things like benchmark, set goals throughout a season. You want to reach certain targets. You want to achieve the next step and the next step and the next step. And it allows teams to bite off small chunks. Like the thing is it's almost, it is a sports psychology play in my mind. If you understand the numbers, you can actually start to play the games in your head to put yourself in the right place at the same time too.
It's incredible, Jer, and you continue to take the game to the next level, both with the analytics and now the streaming. I'm just so pleased that we're going to get so much more curling, and it's always good to see you, my friend.
Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it, and looking forward to a good season coming up here.
Buckle up, right? Good to see you, Jer, and welcome to the city. Thanks for doing it. All right, we're going to move on. The last part.
Hello, the gremlins. They were like serious gremlins in this house.
Are you sure you're here?
Anybody who lives in the Atlantic provinces knows about sometimes Wi-Fi problems.
Okay.
World Wide Web's working. I'm here for you.
You're here. Well, let's finish with a bang. Let's have a Friday night house party, and let's bring in Ted Wyman, the sports editor at The Sun. There he is.
Wi-Fi's working.
And there's Mike Harris. The party. We're all together again. You guys have been so patient for us. Thank you.
Well, because we're already long on our time. But this is we saved the best to last.
We did.
Well, when we're the last part of the last segment, I think we can go as long as we want, can't we?
Sure, that's usually how things go down, for sure.
Love it.
You guys are very kind to say such nice things. We'll try to live up to some of this hype.
Yeah. So hi, Ted. Hi, Mike. Where do you want to start?
Is there something going on?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ted. Ted, you wrote the article, and you got great stuff, outstanding story, great quotes. I don't know if you saw earlier in the show, but basically, the explanation we got is TV. I think you understand that as well. Maybe some thoughts.
We also got that it might not happen.
Right. I heard both those things as well. And, it's very obvious in talking to people who are not as angry about it, because some of the curlers are angry. Some of the curlers are like, this is just ridiculous. We don't want anything to do with it, especially the part about no extra ends. And their reaction is just real. It's like, we don't want to change the game that much. But those people there are some people that are more moderate and are saying, okay, well, we understand it's give and take. if we're going to grow the game in other countries, we have to have it grow on television. And then what do you do to do that? Well, you appease your broadcast partners and you try to make it something that's better for them. And my understanding is that the World Curling Federation was just trying to look at the possibility of something that could work without going to 8 ends, because going to 8 ends takes away what? 2 commercial spots that you normally would have that you can sell.
And drama. There's a lot of drama in those 9th and 10th ends. Mark Dacey never would have won the Brier if not for the 10th end. Mike, what do you think?
I don't agree with any of that. That's the I think the draw. There's plenty of drama at the slams. You know, obviously the stakes are much higher when you come to a Worlds or Olympics, but you know, I think the move to 8 ends is inevitable. My feeling on the no extra end thing in the round robin is I kind of like it. I hate to say it. I mean, I feel like I'm a bit of a rebel on that, in that sense, but I kind of like the no extra end. We experienced it at the World Cup for the series event that was held last year, and it was exciting. And what it did do was obviously it changed the strategy for the last couple of ends. I think that's a given. You know, when you get down to a situation where you're 1 down playing the last end, Jerry Gertz, who was just on, would tell you the team that's 1 down loses 60 to 65% of those games at the top level. That obviously that number comes down. I think you know, when you hold the team to 1, you now have a better chance of winning that game when you're 1 down. I think even if you only get your 1, but you still have a chance of winning the game in the extra end. So anyway, I kind of like some of the changes. I think you know, evolution of the game and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm looking at it from a broadcaster side now rather than the player side. I get the players being a little bit upset about it, but I think the whole conversation goes back to, you know, when the slams went from 10 ends to 8 ends, I think everyone thought there's going to be this huge change in who wins games, and really it didn't change a whole lot in terms of who was winning games. So I think the draw to the button thing, that's a big one. I don't want to see it in the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see that in the playoffs, but in the round robin, I don't mind it.
I love the question here, Mike, because I want to segue to this curling season, a huge season leading to the Olympics, and Ted and Mike, get your thoughts on that. But this is hilarious, Mike. Were your Olympic trials this complicated format back in 1997 in Brandon?
Well, I think, and Colleen went through this. I mean, we had to go. There was 4 regional qualifying sites. Well, Colleen she kept winning Scotty, so maybe it was easier that way. I don't know, but we had to go and win. We had to win these one of the 4 regional qualifying events. It was a 64-team triple knockout for 1 spot at the trials, and there was 4 of those held across the country. One in Halifax, Ottawa, Kelowna, and Saskatoon, I think, or Regina, one of the 2. Anyway, so was it as complicated? No, but we also didn't have to deal with a pandemic and COVID and all these other sort of things. Right. So I think at the end of the day, you know, Curling Canada has done a pretty good job at identifying a very good team to represent Canada. I think that's I don't think anyone can argue that fact. So was it complicated? It seemed complicated. Sorry, what's that, Colin?
Did you say triple knockout down to 1 team?
There was a 64-team triple, right? And 1 team out of that event got a spot at the Olympic trials.
I mean, now that
unless you won the Scotties or the Brier, or right. So I think 4 or 5 spots were given to these teams that won these triple knockout events. So it was right. It was hard. It was hard to get to the Olympic trials. So should it be easy? Should it be complicated? Whatever. I think you got to figure out a way to get your best teams at the trials, and I think Curling Canada is kind of dealing with this curveball of COVID, and you know, whether it works well or doesn't work well. Do we think a team that's going to try to qualify out of this event for the pre-trials to get to the trials is going to win the whole thing? I don't think so.
That's a good Ted.
I drew that up.
Ted,
there we go.
What do you make?
There we go.
What do you make of the path?
There's Ottawa. There's the Liverpool super duper last chance. There's
right.
the backdoor triple knockout that they're playing.
There you go.
Right now in Ottawa, between kind of a lot of I don't want to call them B teams, but a lot of teams, people, it's nice that these teams are getting a chance.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Ted?
Yeah, well, I wanted to say, Mike, the very first big curling event I ever covered was the 1997 Olympic trials in Brandon. So
Cool.
we go back a ways to that.
That was phenomenal. That was a big event. That was a great event.
There, as I recall. But, obviously what we're talking about here is, I think the system is always complicated. And Colleen, you and I have talked about this a few times at the Olympics about what they could possibly do to make it work better. But one of the things is there's no choice this year. Everything had to be condensed into the few months before these Olympic trials. They couldn't get qualifying points last year. They had to do it this year. And this is the method they have. But I will tell you this, probably the hardest story I've written all year was on Monday, trying to explain what the direct entry trials, direct entry pre-trials, then trials, then Olympics all meant. I mean, it was about 4 sentences, and I was going, and I had to break still with us when I finished because it's so complicated.
So can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Mike.
After the women's teams go to the pre-trials and they win the trials spot to get into the trials, do they get to like Chelsea Carey along the way somewhere, or did I miss something there?
Chelsea's not in.
I know.
Lost in the mail. I think.
Yeah, she's already won two. The only person to win any Scotties in the last 10 years. Sorry, you're out. That's a whole other
Mike.
Story, but
don't do that to me.
I like stirring it up, Devin. You know how I am. I like stirring it up. But.
Yeah, the other team. I know she's in the. I know she's in the last entry in Liverpool. Krista McCarville. I mean, that team is simply one of the best teams in Canada, and that they're going to have to go through this.
Well, I guess the message is, I think, Colleen, I mean, you can speak to this a little as well, but there seems to be a reward for playing a lot, as opposed to a reward for playing well. There's a fine balance in there, right? So, a team like Krista McCarville plays well all the time, but they don't play enough. So where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the balance? So that's certainly something I would look at, and
they were COVID KOD'd. They were that moved them out.
They made a choice for their own health, and I get it. So yeah, to be penalized for that, you could use the word penalized, but I mean there are teams that are, the people who are making the rules say they're not dedicated enough, but you also have there's a fine line there where it becomes. It's and Colleen, I think being from the East Coast, like you would know, like the points they're allocated to some of the events in the East Coast versus the West and all that sort of stuff. It's really not balanced very well. So at the end of the day, I don't know who makes the rules or how you actually make the proper change to make it equitable, but I think there's something that's not quite right there.
Right. Yeah. Now we need to get their predictions, don't we, Devin?
Well, I want to get predictions, but I was one of the conversations I love having with Ted is how much pressure is on Curling Canada this quadrennial, because you see Benoit Schwartz qualify just now. That's a lot of time to prepare. Yeah. A lot of countries are having their qualifiers. We've always talked, should they move it earlier to allow a team? We saw how much pressure there was in the bubble to peak and peak and peak, and here we go again with all of these events. Yeah. Ted, how much pressure is on this quadrennial on curling in this country?
Well, a lot, obviously. Very much. They did not medal in men's or women's curling in 2018, and to me, that is a hand-wringing moment for this country. But what we will find out if it truly is a trend or if it was just a blip this year. So you got to make sure that your representative is very strong. We have talked, Colleen and I have talked numerous times. We talked on this show before about the possibility that maybe they would move up the trial so that the team has longer to prepare to be Team Canada. Because I have to say that the format they're using right here, that it's pressure and it's stress too. Like there's some teams, who are in this direct entry trials event right now, who if they don't win, they're going to go to the pre-trials. And that's blocking off a whole bunch of weekends where they normally would have been competing in cash spiels. It's changing their schedule entirely, but they literally can't even say their schedule, because if you finish in the bottom three in this direct entry here for the men, let's say, then you got to go to the pre-trials. And it's just going to be, it's making it really tough on these teams that are on the long road. The happiest people in the world are Brad Gushue and Kevin Cooley.
Yeah.
And the people like that, Jennifer Jones and Rachel Holm and Carrie Anderson, who are already in, and they're just practicing at whatever level or whatever amount they want to right now, and playing as many events as they want because they know they're in those trials. But like you use the word pressure, I think there is on Curling Canada, and there's a lot of stress on the curlers.
Wow. Wow. So prediction. What do you want predictions for, Cole? Because
the actual trials, like we want them to predict who's going to be going to the Olympics.
Wow. Mike.
Hey, it's Friday night. Let's have some fun.
Mike.
To this. Who do you like?
Brad Jacobs and Carrie Anderson.
There. Oh, like he didn't even hesitate. Ted,
No.
bam.
Done.
Done.
Kevin Cooley gets another shot. And I also would have taken Carrie Anderson. I don't know why you would take anyone else in women's curling right now. They're the best.
Right.
Well, Tracy Fleury's awful hot right now.
Yeah, she's playing good.
Yeah.
And that would be sort of in the Mike Harris vein of, winning it when you hadn't been at the top of the mountain yet, but your first huge win was that Olympic trial.
I think that would be fair. I think, it's funny, you look back at all the trials winners, and Kevin Martin and I were chatting about this in the bubble during one of our 5 p.m. cocktail breaks during the when we could have a drink together. If you look back on the history of the Olympic trials, there's very few teams that have actually won it who were the favorites.
Right.
So we look on the paper, right? I mean, even Kevin in 2002, he was kind of persona non grata with Curling Canada at that time. He ended up beating Burnick in the final. Then Brad Gushue was super under the radar. Honestly, I was under the radar, but he was really under the radar. And then in 20, you talked about, and then Brad Jacobs is a perfect example of a guy who, where did he come from? Like Kevin Martin in 2010 he and Glenn Howard were in that final to go to Vancouver. And that was the one and only time you think, okay, the two best teams we have actually met in the final. Yeah, I know Jacobs ended up playing John Morris in the final.
Wow.
To go to Sochi, right? So it was some crazy stories. So, the trials, Curling Canada does a great job of getting the right teams to the trials in order for them to be successful. And I think, I talked a lot about pressure on Curling Canada. If Canada wins medals at this Olympics with this format they have, everyone's, the system's perfect. If they don't win, okay, we got to change everything. So I think it's going to be a really difficult, it's almost a no-win situation for Curling Canada. You kind of fingers crossed, and hopefully the teams do well. But at the end of the day, it's just really hard to win the trials. And then the problem we have now is that Bruce Mowat, Nicholas Sedin, whoever wins Canada is third. I hate to say, I'm going to say it. They are the third favorite at the Olympics in the men's event.
Wow.
And in the women's event, you've got 5 or 6 teams that could win a medal.
That's true.
At least, maybe more. So this whole expectation of medals and golds and everything, people just got to kind of let it go and let the athletes support the athletes, let them be themselves. Let Curling Canada, how can we help you be your best? And I don't know that Curling Canada has quite figured out that way of thinking yet. They kind of imposed their will last Olympic cycle on Rachel Holman in particular, and I don't know that was a great way to be. So I would like to see them just kind of be more supportive and let the players kind of say, okay, now that we've won these things, this is how we want to move forward, and let the Curling Canada support them.
I'll say this, guys, it would be almost a surprise now if Canada won gold medals in men's and women's curling at the Olympics, because in recent years, Canada's not really up there.
It's really hard.
They weren't at all in 2020. I think, out of the medals, it's like you look at it and you say, those teams around the world were playing better than Canada in the year leading up. to the Olympics. So I don't even necessarily think Canada is the favorite to win medals in either men's or women's curling.
Wow. Okay. Well, this has been
two are
recorded.
hot
It's recorded. It's on the record. We're going to revisit this. And guys, it's just so great to see you. And I know we'll be talking throughout the season. And we appreciate your honesty and candid answers always.
We love candid answers.
That's how it works, right? That's how we work. It's all good. It's all good. So great to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We missed you.
Good for you two to be with us.
Yeah. Good to see you guys.
I'm just glad. I feel like I limped to the finish of this with my World Wide Web.
Well, you got here, and we have gone an hour and 15 minutes. Listen,
we went over
a lot of great conversation. Let's bring in producer Sophie.
Okay, so we're sorry we went overtime. Sophie, happy anniversary. How many years have we been with? And look, we've kept you away from date night.
Yes, it is your anniversary. This is incredible.
It's okay. He's watching and commenting on the YouTube live. So what better way to spend our anniversary? It's 4 years today.
Oh,
yeah, my lucky number 4. But congratulations to all the viewers who have made it to this point in the stream. We're in hour 2, and I think it's so ironic that Graham and Mike and Ted and even Brad a little, we're talking about all the new rule changes and how it impacts broadcast and filling the schedule. I don't have that problem with you two. For this 30-minute show we had planned today. Yeah.
You're funny.
We love ya.
I know.
So we're back to doing this in 2 weeks, are we, kids?
I hope so.
That's the plan. Yep, that's the plan. So we're going to be around. We're going to keep you all up to date on, of course, this complicated mess, the curling quagmire. And then the plan is to be running back to Saskatoon. So I mean, when I hear these guys talk about the pressure and the drama, like this is huge. This is a big year, and I'm just so glad we're all back to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved our little team photo. Anyway, I just wanted to stop by quickly at the end to remind the 201 people that I can see that are still watching this stream that if you or someone you know has a really amazing curling story to tell, please contact any of the 3 of us on Twitter. And I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm actually putting up my personal email out into the internet. Please don't spam me or send me any fake curling news. Yeah, let us know. And we'd love to have you on the show in the house. Awesome. Like we did Adam and Charles tonight. What a great story those two.
Oh, and you did a great job, Soph. You really
Thanks. Did. Yeah. I saw Colleen kind of jump when she heard my voice, but
yeah. There you go.
Anyhow, we'll see you next time.
Great to see you, curling fans.
Talk later, Devin. Thanks.
See you, Carl.